Welcome everybody. This is the Foxes team, and we've been looking at everything about badges for the last, I don't know, 2 months. And I'm Wendy Watson, and I'm one of the members of the team, and I've been paying particular attention to the role of badges with professional organizations.
I'm Darlisa Cahoon, and I have been studying the digital badges aspect of from corporations.
I'm Luisa Condelis, and I've studied digital badges in higher education.
Hi, I'm Paul Zastroki, and I've been studying the consumer response to digital badging. I think it's good to start with the value question. Value question is kind of what everything comes down to, I think, in terms of badging. So what is the value in a badge right now, and where could it lead to?
You know, I think that's a really interesting question, and one that we spent a lot of time exploring, because when we started this, I found myself really wondering, really, what is the value of this sort of image badge? And what I've grown to realize is that there isn't, really consistent, solid value with them right now, and that the value is going to really rest in them being used and implemented and bridging across systems. And so within that badge, there's metadata embedded in it, which means that you can take it to another system and people can learn about what the badge was for there. And so it'll have value when we get to that critical mass with badging.
I think also that one thing that's really exciting is that there is a lot of work on coming up with standards for badges and for their value. Mm-hmm. So I think that'll make a huge difference.
I also think that if you're going to move away from it being looked like at a gimmick, part of it is making sure that the system that supports badges really has some rigor to it, and that there's some real standards that are adhered to, and that people are really vetting the badges that they award. So making sure that they're really awarding things for something that's been accomplished and verified.
And besides that, university programs are getting very expensive. Student debt increases, and there's loose connection to employability. So universities have to prove that the worth of the degrees they award to students. And the only way to prove that is through competency-based education. So with competency-based programs, the focus is on the demonstration of the actual skills the student has, and not on the time that they spend to get their degree, which is what is happening now with the traditional system of credits.
I know that in the professional organizations I'm part of, people come into the profession with lots of different education and training backgrounds. And so to be able to have competencies that really clearly articulate what the skills and knowledge are that you need to be successful in the work, and then to use the badging system to be able to recognize those competencies, whether they come from formal education or from life experience or from ongoing professional development, really helps bridge that gap and honor learning that happens in maybe a more non-traditional setting.
You talk about credentialing and what employers can look to for verification of skills, labor, everything else. Isn't that kind of what a resume and references are for?
It's not that we're going to replace resumes and certificates for credentialing and things like that with badges. It's that the badges really strengthen and enhance that, and they create this portable electronic way of communicating what you do online. And so I know that in our system we have credentialing, and I think that people will continue to want a nice certificate to frame on the wall, but a badge will really enhance that, because it'll be something that they can link to and display in the electronic world and the online world.
Yeah, I think it's incredible how it's just instant verification of what that actually means. In another way, it's neat that somebody can look at somebody's collection of badges, say on their LinkedIn account, and they can see kind of what someone else's learning path was to getting the expertise that that person has. And so they can say, oh, I want to get that badge too, and come up with their own personalized learning journey based on what other people have learned and what their badge profile is.
Besides, you want to prove that learning is not confined in the classroom and can happen anywhere because of technology and advancements. So with badges, what you're trying to prove is that you have some skills that your transcripts and your references couldn't really convey to your future employer.
I do think that that whole idea, though, of it just looking like it's a game, like Foursquare or something, is certainly a mountain that the whole idea of digital badging will have to, overcome. Mm-hmm. Is that whole idea that it's just a gamified approach to, motivating people.
And I think that's part of the problem I have with this. I'm not a big proponent of the gamification movement to begin with. And so I think in a professional setting with working adults, varying backgrounds, levels of education, different, places that everybody's come from, kind of instituting a wide-scale badging system where people are awarded better salaries, anything based upon that. Couldn't that hurt some people if they weren't that kind of learner, or if they didn't necessarily get on board with digital badging?
I think it's a cautionary note that badging is pretty new, and there's this, to me, we have a window of opportunity to influence and ensure that it doesn't end up being kind of that gimmick place, because it really is about quickly and easily communicating the information that the badge contains. And to me, it's not about, oh, you got this, badge or this gimmick or this sticker that sort of rewards you. Because I'm a lot like you are, Paul. I'm actually not terribly motivated by certificates or stickers or badges at all. And so I think that's a cautionary note that we have to be really careful that the conversation stays in the deeper meaning where they really have some verification and some real content. Mm-hmm.
And anymore, you kind of need to have an online presence of some sort in order to get a job, it seems like, even anymore. You've got to have a LinkedIn profile. You have to have some sort of online presence so potential employers can search for you and find what you've done and know that you're real and that you really are who you say you are. So I don't know. I mean, maybe that's one way that the world is just going to change, where people are going to have to get on board.
And so that's the other strength of it, is it's a way to communicate, so to give people the essence of all the things you've done without asking them to page through stacks of documents.
And at the university, we don't know if they will ever replace the traditional system, but right now what digital badges do is supplement what already exists. Like at the University of California, UC Davis, they have created a sustainable agriculture and food systems major. And what they try to do with this major is that they designed it to help undergraduate students gain a diversity of knowledge, skills, and experiences using traditional and non-traditional methods and hands-on experience. And the badges enable the students to better communicate their skills and competencies to faculty and their peers and potential employers.
I think that's a critical piece about badges, is the way that they are stackable and they can represent steps along the way. Like, for instance, in a professional development system, you may be working for a credential, but to do a credential, you may have to have certain life experiences. You may have to have participated in certain projects, get certain education levels, different professional development accomplishments. And badging could definitely recognize the achievement of all those steps and then combine into credentials. So for somebody who may work for a year to achieve a credential, they'll along the way be recognized for the things that they've accomplished.
But what if you move to a new employer and they don't recognize badges? How does that help you after that point?
I actually think, Paul, that that's a problem with a lot of things, not unique to badges. I think it's, it strikes us with badges because that's new and it's not fully incorporated in systems right now. But there's certainly situations where you get a credential in one state and then you move to another state and you are no longer credentialed, or you're no longer able to teach. You have to recertify. For me, I think the electronic badges are a huge plus for professional systems that are working with professional registries online and learning management systems, because it electronically makes it possible for the users to take that information with them. And I think there's a potential of being able to automate the recognition of those badges that are moving around with people because it's all automated online.
Yeah, in some ways, I mean, it is interesting, just like how, I mean, you know, how your degrees or your credentials are, they can vary so much, the importance that they are to the employer that you're sitting in front of.
Mm-hmm.
Just like for an instructional design job, for instance, so many employers might require a CPLP or some kind of certification like that. And in a way, it almost levels a lot of that stuff a lot better if there's a digital badge that represents each kind of, you know, maybe there's a certain certification that you have that you're in a job interview, and the person who is interviewing you, they don't necessarily recognize that credential, but then they can look at your digital badge and see all the verification of what that means just instantly.
What if I just paid somebody to get a digital badge for me?
Certificates can be faked, transcripts can be altered, people can hire folks to take tests for them. I think that potential is out there in just about every system, and I'm not sure that badges is any different. That, you know, where there's a will to cheat, somebody's probably going to be working hard to figure that out.
Well, and you know, certainly technology is working on ways to help with that too, with the, you know, the thumbprint scans and the retinal scans, and we certainly are in that area more and more with the professional badges that we use for the airport, you know, proving that people really took the training that they were supposed to make them qualified for the badge. And I think that, you know, that technology is getting cheaper and cheaper and easier to find all the time. So,
you know, if people are sharing badges openly on social networks and stuff, couldn't that open up new avenues for data aggregators, data miners, to buy and sell your information that you share? I mean, the stuff, whereas, you know, college transcripts, you have to give express written consent that you want that shared. Whereas digital badges, while it's not the same level, I get the micro-credentialing versus a degree, obviously, but wouldn't that open up some privacy concerns?
And it comes down to what you want to share. So if you don't want to share something, then you don't have to add it to your credentials.
yeah, I think that's really powerful, that you can choose whether to share it in your backpack or not. You can choose whether you want it to be public or not with the open badge system.
But isn't that kind of encouraged within the culture of the system? I mean, to openly share things on social networks, it seems like that's kind of one of the driving forces behind it. I mean, granted, it's up to the consumer,
Yeah.
but if the consumer is naive about it, they might not realize that they're giving the information that they are to the people and corporations that they are.
Yeah. And, you know, Paul, I think that's a bigger conversation than badges because, you know, you mentioned social network. I think anytime you're putting together a profile and sharing information online, the potential is there. There's going to be sort of a whole education piece around it, around responsible use of badges and what to do when it's not responsible use. So to me, that's a piece of the rollout and the policies and the procedures and the standards that we need to make sure are in place for badges to work. So have we convinced you yet, Paul?
Not completely.
You're a tough customer.
I'm really interested, and I see the potential in this new technology, this new development, and I think it could grow into something, but I think it will take time to tell.
Yeah. I like that you're sort of cautious about this, Paul, and I think that one of the biggest pieces to be really careful about as people look at badges is to really think about what's the need and what's the problem that badges could help solve versus thinking about, oh, this is really cool new tech, or this is sort of a fun gimmick and it motivates and rewards, but really to think about the gaps in the system and how badges might fill that.
No, you guys have all brought up some excellent points, and as a consumer, I would be thinking a lot more seriously about it.
So should we award you a badge for hanging in there for the conversation, a badge on badging? Anyway.
I might not post it, but I would accept it.
Just on the lighter side of things.